profiting off your pet.
Hi, Stella. I'll let the doctor later.
Why do vets charge so much?
What's the first thing that goes through your mind when you see that bill?
I was like, wow, I can't pay for that right now.
Marketplace is teaming up with the Fifth Estate, Enquête, and La Facture to give you the scoop on who's really behind your animal's care.
I did not know the level of corporate ownership was that high.
As corporations move in, insiders reveal the pressure to make a profit.
At my hospital, we had 5 service fee increases within 1 year.
We go undercover
The X-ray will be $380.
and take our findings to their top dog.
That's a corporate pricing strategy.
And that's, once again, just not what I'm experiencing.
We're undercover, visiting the vet.
Hi, Stella. I'll let the doctor later. Sure, thanks.
More than half of Canadians now have a pet at home, and caring for them, well, it's getting pretty pricey.
So it's $154.47.
We want to know what's really behind those sky-high vet bills.
Stella's visit today is going to be $340.32 altogether.
So we're putting that to the test.
So $540.88 altogether.
If the prices at your clinic have climbed, it could be because big business has moved in, taking over your pet's care.
Doesn't that one have catnip in it?
I think it does. Yeah.
Maya Terzic learns about the high costs of pet care the hard way. When her kitten Guppy becomes sick, she brings him to her family's vet.
They kept him back there for like an hour and a half, and I was just kind of in the dark, didn't know what was happening.
After agreeing to blood work for a couple $100s, she's shocked when it's time to pay.
Just do the blood work,
Yeah.
couple $100, and you get a bill for?
It was like $1,100, I think.
What's the first thing that goes through your mind when you see that bill?
I was like, wow, I can't pay for that right now. And it just really shocked me because we had that like explicit decision at the beginning.
On the bill, a number of medications and tests, including one for a virus, which Guppy's recently been checked for and is negative.
So there's no doubt in your mind he didn't
No.
need that test.
No.
But you paid $186 for it. Do you still get angry when you look at that?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To learn more about what's driving up the cost of care, we're on our way to visit a vet tech who's all too familiar with stories like Maya's.
I was met with a lot of tears, a lot of stress, a lot of anger.
We're concealing her identity and calling her Rima because she fears that speaking out against the corporations that are taking over vet clinics could hurt her career.
There are certain things that I found were driven more based on commission, sales, and not necessarily what's going to be best for the pet or the family, but what's going to be best for bottom dollar.
Before 2010, almost all vet clinics were independently owned by the vet you visited. But Canada's veterinary industry looks very different today. Now, more than 20% of clinics and more than half of emergency and specialty hospitals in Canada have been bought up by 6 corporations. The 3 biggest operators, VetStrategy, VCA, and NVA, are all based around the globe. Rima's worked for 2 of them, VetStrategy and VCA, and says she noticed a shift at her VetStrategy hospital about 3 years ago.
The prices started to climb and started to climb and continued to climb. At my hospital, we had 5 service fee increases within 1 year.
How much did it go up?
Anywhere from 3 to 6% per increase.
Wow,
So
that's not nothing.
it's substantial.
She says staff weren't given a reason for the price hike.
So what's really going on there?
It's just a drive in revenue.
So what will corporate care cost us?
Meet Stella.
She's fine, but we're taking her and our hidden cameras to the vet.
And while we're there for a checkup, we're telling them about some urinary symptoms she's been having.
That point to a urinary tract infection.
All right, so we've got the camera here.
The 2 chains we receive complaint after complaint about, the 2 biggest, Vet Strategy, and VCA. So we're visiting 3 locations each across Toronto to find out what each vet will recommend for treatment and how much it'll cost.
I have a brand new total of $160.46.
Okay. And that is for the
Examination.
At each clinic, there's a cost to see the vet. The price of those exam fees, well, they're fairly consistent, with only a $14 difference between them.
She's been peeing a lot, which is unusual. And she's peed in the house a couple times too, which is not like her.
At all 6 clinics, the vets agree on one thing.
I wonder if maybe this is something like a urinary tract infection.
So it's likely there's something going on in the urinary system.
The most common thing, she has a urinary tract infection.
And the recommendation from all?
I think starting off with like a urine test. Probably a UTI, but I can't be certain without that urinalysis.
But how much will that test cost? Across Ontario, the average price for a urinalysis is $124. The prices we're quoted, though, are all over the map.
So you're looking about $46.32.
So to do a house it's $175.
That's a $130 difference in price.
Veterinary walk-in and urgent care.
To help us make sense of this inconsistent pricing, we're in St. John, New Brunswick.
Galaxy Vet Surgery, Care, this is Olivia speaking. How can I help you?
Meeting up with Dr. Ivan Zach.
Locking off until the end of the day.
Unlike the big corporations, the chain of clinics he runs are owned by the staff who work in them. But Dr. Zach's been keeping tabs on corporate consolidation in the industry.
And what's it really about at these corporately owned clinics?
The money.
What's concerning you about the direction that things are headed here in Canada?
If the mandate of the organization that owns the hospital is to generate revenue, then that reflects on how the hospital is operated and the culture.
And when we show Dr. Zach the range in prices we paid for the same test, he's not surprised.
There's a term that is used in general sort of veterinary economics is the shoppable items.
Okay.
So most shoppable items are exam fee, because you call into the clinic and you say, how much is your exam fee? And then they would set the prices that people call about to a very competitive level, and then would increase the prices on the back end.
And then the sticker shock basically comes later when you need to order the other tests, the other analysis.
Yeah, and I think that that's a reflection of shoppable item pricing.
What's more, we're given a completely different price for the same test at the same corporation. At this VCA clinic,
It is about $100 to do a analysis, if you're okay with that. But I should be able to get the results back. We do it in-house.
And remember what it cost at this one?
To do a house it's $175.
That's a $75 difference in price for the same test.
It's pure profit, pure greed.
We hear from another insider calling out corporate vet care over its sky-high costs and unfair pricing practices.
The client isn't aware of what prices are being increased.
Megan's not her real name, and she doesn't want to come on camera. She fears reprisal from her former employer, VCA.
Walk me through what I'm looking at here.
She shares with us internal VCA pricing documents from a recent price hike that show different fees a clinic can charge for each service. Dental x-rays for a dog could be price level 1, $252, or all the way up to price level 8, $327. The clinic can choose which level to charge as long as the price is going up.
What we were told was to do a creative price increase. So we're going to sort of hide them here, there, and everywhere. It's a way of increasing profit.
So there's no doubt in your mind that the goal here was to raise the prices, but more importantly, to hide those price increases from consumers.
Yes.
And when we tell Megan about that range in prices for Stella's urinalysis,
do you think that our test is an example of creative pricing at work?
Yes.
Back on hidden camera, in addition to the urinalysis, the vet suggests another test too.
Usually though, in this case, I would want to pair it with a urine culture as well.
So you recommend, like, do you think we should just do both?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so both is about $310.
Okay.
Adding the culture adds $166 to the bill. Dr. Zach says, in his clinical opinion, that culture is not needed right away.
During the visit, you will be still prescribed an antibiotic. So seeing whether antibiotic that you were prescribed worked or not first would be a reasonable approach without a culture.
And over at this vet strategy clinic, we're told they'll use an ultrasound when they get the urine sample, but they also suggest x-rays.
The x-ray will be $380 for 2 bills.
Okay, and so again, sorry, do you think we should be doing the x-ray today?
Honestly, it's not wrong to go either way.
I'm not sure if the x-ray needed as a second test to determine that, because you're already having a visual diagnostic tool when you're looking into the bladder. And I think that that's the magic word. It's not wrong thing to do.
Yeah.
I think the customers come to us to find out what's the right thing to do, not what's not the wrong thing to do.
Both VCA and Vet Strategies say their vets are free to provide the care that best suits an animal's needs and the owner's financial position, only offering treatments they feel are medically necessary. Vet Strategy didn't address its prices, but they did say that, like all industries, their operating costs have risen rapidly in recent years due to a number of factors. VCA acknowledges that combined urinalysis and culture suggested at one of its clinics is the most expensive, but also the most accurate test. They also say their vets are trained to explore a range of treatment options with clients.
Yeah, she's got a torn ACL.
But Dr. Zach says the push for profits, well, it's impacting all of us.
The danger there is that everybody starts comparing to the clinic that is owned by a corporation that says, okay, well, we can go that high.
Do you worry that as these prices keep going up that people won't be able to afford care for their pets?
I think it's happening now.
Yeah.
The worst part is that what we call economic euthanasia, when people can't afford the treatment, and then you have conflicting moral dilemma when you know that you can save the pet, but you can't treat it because the owner can't afford it, and that's where we end.
Oh, that's awful. And you've seen that?
Many times. Being an emergency veterinarian, that's the worst part of a job.
Corporate consolidators are buying up vet clinics across Canada, and industry insiders tell us their push to make a profit is driving up the cost of care.
At my hospital, we had 5 service fee increases within 1 year.
So this here is an NVA location, corporately owned.
We're in Victoria, taking a drive through the municipality of Saanich.
So just up the road here, a Vet Strategy clinic,
where 5 of the 11 vet clinics in the area are corporately owned.
About a kilometer away, another Vet Strategy clinic, but you wouldn't know it because there's no advertising or signage on the outside.
Within the span of 10 kilometers, we drive past 4 corporate clinics.
Of the 3 big corporations, 2 of them, Vet Strategy and NVA, don't brand their clinics or change the name of a clinic after they buy it, which means there are about 500 vet clinics and hospitals all across Canada where customers might not realize they're visiting a corporately owned chain. There are 10 clinics here in Victoria that are corporately owned. Did you know that?
I did not know the level of corporate ownership was that high.
What vet does Riley go to?
Hillside Vet.
Now, Hillside Vet?
Yes.
Did you know is owned by Vet Strategy?
Yeah, I thought it was a conglomerate, yes. We actually changed from someone else to them, trying to avoid that, but it is what it is. It seems to be everywhere.
So yours is corporately owned?
Apparently.
The interesting thing about Vet Strategy is they don't brand. So you wouldn't know. Do you think you should know?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
As a consumer, you'd like to know.
I'd like to know.
Would be kind of almost borderlining unethical that I'm coming there and don't even know that you're a big corporation, so I would find it pretty unethical. So I would expect full disclosure of who you are.
Ready, Stella? Let's go.
Back on Hidden Camera, full disclosure is on full display at VCA's clinics. Their branding is hard to miss, but Vet Strategy clinics aren't so obvious. Here, we have to ask. And later see it's printed on our invoice. Over at another clinic,
You own this clinic? No. So we are partners with Vet Strategy.
and at this location,
Do you own this clinic, or is it like a bunch of vets?
Sure. We unfortunately I don't own this clinic.
no mention of who actually owns the clinic. This vet tech that we're calling Rima worked for Vet Strategy for more than 5 years.
You think they're hiding it?
I think they're hiding it. I think that it's so people don't know.
Someone else who didn't know? Maya Terzic.
So, the clinic that you took Guppy to, it's actually owned by a corporation. That corporation's called Vet Strategy. Did you have any idea?
No idea at all.
And remember all those costly tests Maya paid for? Her cat didn't need them. All he did need was a little ointment for an ear infection, which was diagnosed somewhere else.
Do you think it should be clearer to consumers like yourself when you walk in, hey, there is a corporation behind this?
Yeah, 100%. I think it's only fair to be honest with your customers and your clients, and then they can make an informed choice of where they want to go.
But for more and more Canadians and their pets, that choice is becoming harder to come by because in some parts of Canada, corporate consolidation is even higher than 20%, leaving pet owners fewer independent options. Like here in Moncton, New Brunswick.
Here's another Vet Strategy clinic.
Vet Strategy is now behind 45% of all general practice clinics. So what can be done about it? In the United States, regulators have stepped in, requiring 2 consolidators to sell a number of emergency and specialty hospitals in 10 different states and DC, due to a lack of competition in the areas.
Back here in Canada, well, the Competition Bureau tells us they have the authority to review any transaction regardless of its size. They haven't taken any action to prevent consolidation in the vet industry, and they declined to speak with us about it on camera, simply saying in a statement they will continue to monitor the sector. As for the corporations, NVA says they keep the name of the clinic after they buy it to respect the legacy that was built by the veterinarian. Vet Strategy says they are committed to transparency and that they publicly announce when practices join their network.
But we obtain a document sent by Vet Strategy to staff of a hospital that was bought up in 2019 that says we are not going to actively communicate to clients nor the community about the change in ownership structure.
Vet Strategy says in any acquisition process, there are certain conditions that must be met before it can be finalized, following which they will make an announcement. They also say that hospital that was bought up back in 2019 is currently listed on their website, along with all the other clinics in their network.
Corporate consolidators are buying up vet clinics across this country. Consumers and insiders are sounding the alarm over soaring prices. So we're taking those concerns to Ottawa.
We're 1/10 the size of the US veterinary population.
Meeting up with Tim Arthur, president of the Canadian Veterinary Medical Association. And like hundreds of vets across the country, he sold his practice to a corporation.
It made huge stress-relieving sense to sell. Obviously, economically, selling that business was theoretically what was going to fund my retirement.
Okay.
Something was going to happen eventually.
Right.
So it was done then.
Arthur says he has no concerns with big business getting into veterinary care. In fact, he works at 2 big corporate chains.
There's an awful lot of things that are being put on their plate, and I'm just not sure it's real.
But for consumers, this is driving up the cost of care. They are raising prices.
I don't think it's fair to blame it on the corporates. We have many, many factors in our business that are causing costs to go up. Our costs of buying medications are going up. Our costs of servicing equipment, buying equipment.
But we've heard things like a systematic price increase, like 5 price increases within a year. That's a corporate pricing strategy.
And that's, once again, just not what I'm experiencing.
So what do you say to those people who are telling us that there are things like regular price increases?
What I would say is, if they are indeed experiencing that, jump ship. Work
Leave
somewhere
the vet
else.
industry or go somewhere else?
No,
Go to a
somewhere
different
else.
clinic.
Yeah.
Go somewhere else. The same message Rima has for the big corporations she used to work for.
If you're not here to help the animals, if you're not here to help the people, I don't think that you should be in the industry. I don't think that it's an industry that you should be in with the sole purpose to turn a profit.